Welcome to the 5-Star Retirement Show with Patrick Mueller, best-selling co-author of Dare to Succeed and president of Bella Advisors. Today, he'll be sharing his 5-star retirement formula, including lifetime income planning, investment planning, tax planning, healthcare planning, and legacy planning. Here's Chris Monroe and Patrick Mueller.
And welcome back to 5-Star Retirement, another edition where we help you leave the life, get to a life where you can be financially free, you can do what you want to do and use the money and all the wealth that you've created over your working lifetime effectively and hang on to it so that the government doesn't take it away. I'm Chris Monroe with you, as always, joined by our good friend, Patrick Mueller of Bella Advisors, who is the guy, who knows all about all of this stuff. And
he knows all and sees all.
And it's one of those topics that, it's sometimes can be a little boring to talk about, but it's so very important in
It's so important, and we try to make it as non-boring as we possibly can.
We really do.
It's one of those things that'll kind of make your eyes glaze over, right?
Well, if you hear, like an economist, today the stock market went up. If it's in the drony style of, then it will. So, a lot of folks here we are, rocking and rolling into a new year, a new decade. Hard to believe. You talk about the roaring 20s, and we're hoping that they will roar, but not in the same way as they did last century.
Yes.
With a major crash. So that's what we can hope. And a lot of folks, Patrick, right now are opening up their 401k statements, their retirement statements, their brokerage statements, and especially people that still just look at it on a quarterly basis, don't follow it all the time. There's probably a lot of people that are pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, people are getting excited. People are getting excited right now that haven't been excited, and so people are kind of thinking like they're financial geniuses too, because
look at me. It's easy to be a financial genius when everything is going up, stocks and bonds and everything is accelerating. But what was the market up last year? I know we briefly touched 29,000, and we haven't closed there yet as of when we are putting the show together.
I want to say the S&P. I don't think I looked at the final year-to-date numbers last year, but I think it was about 30%.
30%. I knew it had to be because there's some the funds in my 401k that were up like 45% year over year, and it's like, wow, if we could do this every year, this would be fantastic.
That's right.
And of course, all the prognosticators are out there now, Patrick, talking about, what's 2020 going to do. And
it reminds me of Groundhog's Day.
Yeah.
The prognosticator of prognosticators.
Yes, exactly. And then everybody believes that they've got the best answer on everything.
And that's what it is. It's almost kind of the same thing. Did the groundhog see its shadow or did it not see its shadow? And is the next 6 months, is the economy going to be good or the market's going to be good or are we going to have a downturn? And it's kind of like the same thing because everybody's crystal ball or method is about the same as everybody else.
Well, it really is.
It's just an educated guess.
And that's the thing about no matter where you're at in your retirement, as far as when you're going to retire, whether it's 5 years, 10 years, or if you're younger and you're watching us, trying to time the market is just not. Even the pros get it wrong a lot that are trying to time certain things and that kind of thing. But most of an article from Market Watch, Patrick, was talking about from Goldman Sachs, and I've kind of seen this kind of repeated over and over again that 2020 will likely be a slower version of 2019.
And what I think is, and it typically happens in election years, is that you tend to have more volatility on the market.
Right.
There's more uncertainty. Is the president that's in the office now going to stay in office? Is there going to be a new president? And there's going to be a lot of uncertainty that kind of goes around that. So you're going to have just a lot of training in the markets, and you're going to see some volatility, in my opinion, this year.
Well, and and that's a good point. And we're in a lot of uncharted waters, in a lot of ways. We have, just in our society is just different today. So a lot of times we're trying to put, past market fluctuations and people talking about the inverted yield curve and this and that and this happen, but things are different in so many ways today, not only nationally, but globally. And that could spell we don't know over the next 6 to 12 months. markets.
You don't know. I mean, we could go to war. There could be some kind of black swan event that happens that, somebody farts in China and it causes our markets to go down.
Well, that happens.
By 30%.
There's somebody that is monitoring that in China right now.
It's kind of a butterfly effect, a different version of
and speaking of that article on right. Yes, exactly. But apparently, we're at the imminent signing of the phase 1 of the U.S.-China trade agreement,
which is going to be good.
Which is actually, it's calmed things down. Obviously, it looks as if right now we're not at any sort of imminent war with Iran, in the Middle East, and that's good. And years of strong valuation increase is usually followed by continued increase in equities, but at a slower pace, and that's where a lot of what I'm seeing. It may be more up and down. We may not see 30% this year. A lot of people are saying high single digits as opposed to that, which I certainly take.
So one of the problems, like when you look in the past, is, say back in 2008, that was the last downturn that we had, which is hard to think. I mean, it's 12 years ago now since we had the most downturn. So we're in the longest bull run in stock market history. So you have different markets that happen. You've got summertime, right? It's kind of like the changes in what is it?
The seasons?
The seasons, yeah. The change in the seasons, yeah. Drawing a blank there. But, yeah, so whether it's summer or fall or winter and spring, and so you've got those different things that happen in the markets. It's just for basically the last decade, we've pretty much been in spring and summer, for pretty much over the last 10 years. And that's what's been happening is our government and the central banks around the world have been trying to make it so it stays summertime, basically. And they've been just putting Band-Aids on a lot of different things, and they're not really correcting the real problems that are there, like the debt and different things that are happening in different markets. And it's just a matter of time. So the most recent two crashes the most recent two bull markets that lasted before this longest one that we're in now was 1929, right, when the Great Depression started, the big crash of 1929, and then the year 2000 when the tech bubble burst. And then,
so there was that much time between those two major bull markets. So the 20s.
Well, those were just the longest.
There were bull markets, obviously, but still, I mean, to have
those were the two longest.
No, that's a long way between those decades.
Yes,
to think about that. So somebody right now, Patrick, is 5 years away from retirement.
Mm-hmm.
You're looking at retiring at 2025, and you're trying to get your ducks in a row. What is your advice to them right now? Of they're seeing these great returns on their 401k statement. They're like, I don't want to move this out of the market, or I'm going to miss out on gains. But
so all that stuff is great. I'm very much an optimist, but when it comes to the markets and when it comes to retirement, you got to have some common sense. And the common sense says you shouldn't have all your money on the markets. So you should have a certain amount of your money, especially when you're getting closer to retirement. You're 5 years away. You really need to be aligning with the rule of 100. So what that is take whatever your age is, and that's the amount of your life savings that you should have on things that are safe and protected from loss, that are principal protected. And there are things that are out there. One of the biggest myths and why people don't have more of their money in those types of accounts is because they just don't understand the stuff that's out there. There's stuff out there that doesn't exist 5-10 years ago that you just don't know about, where you can protect your money and you can get the majority of the growth of the stock market or the whatever market we want to tie it to. We're not going to get 100% of the growth, but I mean, we can tie it to things like that to where you can get the growth from the stock market, but when the markets are down in a particular year, that you don't lose money. People just don't understand that those types of things exist.
Yeah, and I think probably a lot of folks, Patrick, think that it's either an all or nothing scenario, whether you either got to be all invested in the market or you just pull out all your money and put it under your mattress with no growth at all. I mean, it's safe, but not really, because inflation, because interest, that kind of thing. So it's, and I would bet that a lot of people, especially that maybe don't have a lot of financial acumen. And let's be honest, unless you're this guy and you're a geek and you study this stuff and
That's right. That makes me feel real good. You basically just called me a geek, which is completely fine.
But that's good, though. You
want to have a geek.
Absolutely. Right? I want a geek working on my computer, and I want a geek working on my finances.
Yes.
And in all seriousness, it's somebody that understands these ins and outs, because we're going to get to later in the show some of the some more changes for 2020, that we're going to talk about and how it affects people's distributions and that kind of thing. But things change all the time. And not only do the rules of the game change, because the government likes to do that, I think, because they just like to laugh at us. But, at the same time, people's lives change, their situations change. And that's why, getting in, maybe the New Year's resolution is to get all these ducks in a row this year. How do people get in touch with you? And what's the process? How long does it take? How much does it cost to get in and see you at Bella Advisors?
Yeah, so we should start like a slogan for this year, right? Have 2020 vision in 2020.
2020 financial vision in 2020.
2020
like
financial vision.
All right.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. So so the process that we go through, because when you're retiring, there's another word for retirement. It's called unemployment. And so you're unemployed for the next 25, 30 plus years. So how do you make that work? And the one thing is, one, making sure you don't have too much of your money at risk. But the important thing is, how are you going to replace your paycheck when you retire? How are you going to create the cash flow that you need to maintain your lifestyle for however long you're going to live? And that's what we help folks do, is that's one piece to the 5-star retirement plan, where the first thing we want to put together is an income plan. How do we put together your paycheck? When do you turn on Social Security? When do you turn on your pensions? How do you create the income that you need? So that's the first step that we help folks with, and we can get into the other 4 in the 5-star retirement plan. But
well, let's go by we've got about a minute and a half here before break. So how do people get in touch with you, your contact information at Bella Advisors?
Yeah, give us a call here at 770-545-8881. Again, that's 770-545-8881, and schedule a time to come in for a visit. We're in Roswell, and we'll sit down and we'll take a look at what's currently going on with your current situation, and we'll give you observations on what we see. We'll do a stress test and analysis for you, and we'll take a look at where you're at, where you're headed in the future, and if there's stuff you need to be paying attention to, so you get clarity on that now. We do this free of charge. We don't charge anything for it. If you want our help with something moving forward, then we'll spell out what that looks like.
Sure.
And, but yeah, you got to take action, understand where it is that you're currently at now. So give us a call, 770-545-8881, or you can go to our website, bellaadvisors.com.
All right. Great segment to start off the new year here, Patrick. Coming back, we will talk a little bit about some changes that are coming up that impact some retirement and some withdrawals and distributions, that kind of thing, coming up next on 5-Star Retirement. Welcome back to 5-Star Retirement, the place where we talk everything money and retirement so that you can live the 5-star way. And after all, I want to live 5 stars, and I know you do too, Patrick. Motel 6 is a 1-star. It's okay for a place to sleep, maybe in a shower, but I want the 5-star. I want the
let's do it.
I want the room service and the turn down service.
The room service and the beds.
Yeah,
it's the most comfiest bed I've ever slept in. I went on a hunt. I was in a St. Regis hotel one time, like years ago. Not that I get the opportunity to stay there too often, but it was the comfiest bed. And so I did research of where they bought their beds and all the stuff. So now St. Regis actually sells the bed.
That's right, the St. Regis mattress. And what's funny is that even back in the day, and I think both of us are old enough to know this, even at some of the upscale hotels back in the day, mattress comfort, pillow comfort, all that was not priority, and then there were a lot of people that were very innovative in, now when you go to a hotel and you sleep on a St. Regis, it's like, man, I got to take this home.
Yeah.
And
if you think about how much time you really sleep, right, and how much
it's depressing.
You should have you should have the comfiest bed.
You really should. It's funny that's come a long way, certainly for us over the past number of decades. So, a funny article I was reading on Market Watch here, and I know I was going to ask you if you ever got these kind of questions, and these are the kind of things that I find a little whimsical, a little funny. Probably happen, and I know you've had some stories. We'll tell some stories, but this is the moneyest on Market Watch, and the question to him was, I feel betrayed. My husband is splitting our estate 50-50 between me and his daughter. Should I find another man?
Oh man!
So it's like a Dear Abby of. So, you see these things, and I was reading through this, and obviously he says, well, no, you probably shouldn't find another man, depending on what the circumstances are. But do you answer questions like that?
All the time.
Just
all the time. A lot of times, most of those questions usually come with second marriages.
Okay.
A lot of times.
Because you've got somebody else in the picture from the right. That makes sense, yeah.
And I'm dealing with a situation like that right now where I want to say this couple's about 70 years old, and they married about 10 years ago or so, maybe 15 years ago or so. And the kids thought that she was a gold digger. And so she's telling me this, like the kids think I'm a gold digger and I'm not a gold digger. And she's, talking about all this stuff. And so the husband, he said that he had like $500,000 set aside for her to take care of her income if something happens to him. But it became very apparent that if he passed away before her, the Social Security was going to go away. His pension was going to go away. There was a lot of sources. There was like, I want to say like $120,000 a year that would just go away in income to her. And she would go from, I don't know, I think it was like $150,000 a year down to like 30. Some
big lifestyle change.
Big lifestyle change. I'm like, she's going to blow through that $500,000
Sure.
really quickly, depending on when you pass away. And then it kind of dawned on me, he's like, you're totally right. And so he wanted to put an income plan together to make sure that she was going to be okay. And then whatever was left kind of went to the daughter because she didn't want to, and she didn't want to take anything. She was just like, I'd like to be able to live a comfortable lifestyle, but I'm not, she was trying to almost kind of prove a point that she's still 15 years later trying to prove a point that she's not a gold digger.
Right. And there's nothing uglier though in a family than when you start talking about estate and money and who's going to get what.
Yeah.
When before you're even in the ground, and so obviously his answer back to her was, you are equating your husband's estate plans with his level of love for you. Is he only leaving you 50%? Does it mean he love you less? So, I mean, and imagine in a family where, and of course, second and even third marriages are unfortunately common today. Now you have not only your core current family to think about, but then you've got like other people and other children. And how do you split this up? And that's part of the 5-star plan. And when you sit down with somebody, Patrick, and you talk about, it's that legacy planning. And, how many people you come in and have absolutely no plan on what's going to happen? Let's say they have a substantial, multi-million-dollar nest egg in retirement, what's going to happen to that? And if there's no plan in place, what happens if they die unexpectedly?
So it's got to go through probate. If somebody doesn't have a will, it basically goes through probate, and the state will come up with the will for you.
Okay, so the state decides basically where it goes.
That's exactly right. So when you get a will, that goes in front of the probate judge, and then the probate judge, just tries to go by what's in the will and make sure that everything works the way that it's supposed to. But then somebody can contest it. Anybody can contest it because it's all public. So somebody could contest the estate and say, hey, I was supposed to get this and that. And
I'm sure that never happens though. Right. All the time, and it's sad. I mean, that money does bring out kind of the ugly side in a lot of people, but having that plan in place, not only for your retirement, but what after you're gone, what does that mean for you and your family?
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that even if it's not in your wheelhouse, you have a lot of contacts that can help people.
Oh, for sure.
With those items.
So we've got contacts where we can help get the wills and power of attorneys and trusts and all that stuff set up really inexpensively. And it's about talking through like what you want to see happening. So in this particular situation, they need to have, some kind of trustee that's not one of the daughters in the family, right? Because she's like, I don't want to have to go through and battle with the daughter or have them telling me how much money I'm going to get each month or anything like that. If something happens to him, she's like, we need to have some kind of third party that's going to administer everything to make sure there's not going to be any issues. So we talk through stuff like that. And then say, for an example, it's just going to children. Sometimes children are good with money and sometimes there's children that are not good with money. Do you want to be protecting the kids from themselves?
There's a lot of questions I'm sure that you, I bet you ask a lot and people look at you with glazed over eyes and looks because they're like, wow, I've never really thought about that.
That's right. Yeah.
And
those things come up all the time.
Here's another one. Where did all the money go? My dying husband cashed in his $700,000 in life insurance before he died. I mean, I guess people really do that?
Yeah, I guess if they got some cash value in there, you might.
Wow.
Yeah.
Or there's accelerated payout if you're, in a terminal illness. I know some policies have that too. The bottom line is, wherever you're at financially, no matter how big or small your family is, you've worked a long time to put some money in the bank, and as you like to talk about, a lot, you get to the point where the accumulation phase is over.
Mm-hmm.
And now we have to figure out how we're going to use that tool, that money, which is a tool. That's all it is. Can't take it with you, to enjoy whatever remaining years on on this earth that you have. And for some people, that could be 30 or more years after you retire. And what it means for your family. Real quick, we've got about 4.5 minutes before the segment. So we talked briefly about the each of the 5 stars just before the break. We got to income replacement, which is number one. Obviously, you got to have income. Just because you decide not to work anymore doesn't mean your bills go away. So what's 2 through 5 and those importance of those?
Yeah, so the income plan, we need to know how much income you're going to need and how to put that plan together, and that ties right into your investment plan. So how are the investments designed to help generate that income that you need to maintain your lifestyle for however long that's going to be? So how much risk are you currently taking? We're at all-time market highs in stock market history. If we go through another downturn with what you currently own right now, how much would you lose? We need to know what that number is, and is that something that you could sustain if you went through something like that? And then there's tax planning, healthcare planning, and then, like you were just talking about, legacy planning. Make sure everything's titled properly and making sure your stuff gets from point A to point B the way you want it to.
Is it common for people too, and maybe this is a little off topic and out of your real sphere of knowledge, but letting people know who's going to get what before you pass away is part of that plan? Knowing, or is it kind of a surprise when somebody dies generally?
I think probably for most people it's probably kind of a surprise.
Right.
But then some people are really good about, because maybe they don't want the family to get dollar signs in their eyes and they don't want them to know what's really there. I've had that happen a lot of times where it's kind of kept secret until that point because they don't want kids fighting or anything like that.
Isn't it amazing that, as far as we've come in so many things, that money is still one of those taboo subjects that just, it just creates more vitriol and ugliness than anything else. So, being able to protect, that estate, and I like what you said before, protecting your kids from themselves or your spouse from themselves, because they're going to go out there in 6 months and have all that money gone that you wanted to leave them with. And the other thing is I would imagine that a lot of people, are underinsured, don't have enough life insurance. I think a lot of people's life insurance plan today is GoFundMe. And that's kind of what, when somebody dies, we're going to do a GoFundMe account, and that's what's going to happen. So again, how do folks get in touch with you? I know it's a very simple, what do you say, about 45 minutes to an hour?
Yeah, it's like 45 minutes to an hour, and we sit down and just get a snapshot of what's going on in your world and, take basically like the vital signs. It's kind of like going to the doctor and getting a physical and getting checked out. So we got to understand what's going on and what your goals and objectives are, what you're trying to accomplish. And we answer a lot of the big questions that people have. How much money do you need to have to retire on? When can you retire? Is the money going to be enough? And so a lot of these big questions are on people's minds. We help clear that stuff by going through this process. We don't charge anything to do this analysis because I believe that everybody should understand where they're currently at and the current path that they're on. If there's stuff they need to be paying attention to, and if there's stuff we can help you with and you want our help, great. If not, that's okay too. At least you're going to know, and we can move you in the right direction. But you got to take action. And that's the biggest thing is people know they should be doing this stuff. Maybe they've been putting it off for a long time, but you got to take action and pick up the phone, give us a call, and schedule a time to come in. So give us a call at 770-545-8881. Again, that's 770-545-8881. And schedule a time to come in for your free stress test and retirement analysis. And we'll see where you're headed here in 2020.
All right. Well, it's going to be a good year. I think, was it Lord willing, the creek don't rise? We should get away with another year. But like you said, a lot of volatility this year with another, I think we've seen a lot of craziness in the election cycle. I think we're just seeing the beginning of it.
Tip of the iceberg, I think so too.
And we'll talk a little bit about that and more coming up in the next segment of 5-Star Retirement. Stay right there. We'll be right back. Thank you for staying with us here at 5-Star Retirement, brought to you by Bella Advisors in Roswell, Georgia. Proprietor Patrick Mueller is, of course, our guest, as always, here in the big show. And a great start to 2020. We continue to see the stock market up near all-time highs and the economy strong. A lot of great indicators, a lot of scary indicators out there, too, not the least of which debt, and we can get into all of that. But first and foremost, we need to talk about, as we already see, the ellipticals and the stationary bike starting to free up even now after New Year's resolutions check 2020. So here we go. We're getting toward the end of January, and we already have New Year's resolutions that have gone out the window. Do you have any yet, Mr. Mueller?
Oh, yeah. Well, my New Year's resolution, it kind of started last year, where it's to drop some pounds.
Okay.
Like a lot of people, right? So, but I definitely saw that in the gym. I mean, the gym definitely flooded. New Year's Day, it was just bananas.
Oh, you can't get a spot. You can't get a spot on a cardio machine or the weight circuit in the first week or two of January.
Yeah, I'm like, oh man, yeah, I'm gonna do this at home.
Right.
Because you can't do anything. You can't get anything done. But that's my thing. I've got a contest with a buddy of mine, and
and I understand you have a little wager on it as well.
We do. So we made it to where it would hurt, right? So to make us do something. So it ended up being $1,000. Whoever wins or whoever loses got to pay the $1,000. But then there was also an embarrassment factor to it too, where the loser had to be the other person's butler at the place of their choosing, but not only be their butler, but have to wear one of those Chippendales outfits with the bow tie around the neck.
Wow.
Yeah.
You guys don't mess around, man. You play you play serious.
So every time I think about not going to the gym or what I'm eating, I'm picturing myself having to wear one of those Chippendales outfits. And I think about Chris Farley. Did you see that Saturday Night Live skit with Chris Farley
yes.
and what's his face? Dirty Dancing guy.
Patrick
Swayze. Yeah, Swayze. Yeah. And their dance moves. Yeah. So I think about that, and then I'm in the gym.
So are you have not broken
if it's like 10 or 11 o'clock at night, I'm like.
So you're sticking with your New Year's resolution.
I'm sticking.
That's good.
I'm sticking to it.
Let's ask our producers, have any New Year's resolutions that you've broken already?
Yeah, same thing.
Workout every day, already broken? Oh, you're sticking to it. How about that? So we've got, not only do we got our producers and we've got you. I didn't make any New Year's resolutions, so I'm kind of.
Your resolution is to make no resolution.
I try to reevaluate every year.
Change perfection, right?
Well, right. Listen, I'm just going to stay right there. We're just going to leave it right there. Nice to see you. Have a good So, a lot of us, in all seriousness, I mean, we take the first of the year to kind of take stock. I mean, it's one of those symbolic, for a lot of people, it's kind of a reset button, if you will, just to kind of take a look at where you are. And, it's a little more special this year because, we're entering a new decade as well as a new year.
It sounds so cool. I mean, 2020.
I know, right?
I mean, what better time to get your stuff together than 2020?
2020 vision, there's a lot of things that can be played on that. But one of the things that I know a lot of people want to do is get their financial house in order. For some people, that can mean a lot of different things. That can mean paying down debt. That can mean saving more, spending less. That can mean getting their financial house in order for retirement, kind of assessing like, oh, wow, I'm 10 years from retirement. And that creeps up on people quick.
Big time.
I mean, I'm 47, and in 10 years, which will go like that, all of a sudden you're like less than 10 years away from retirement,
Well, it's crazy. My daughter's birthday was on Saturday at 16, and I'm just like, man, where did the time go? My birthday's tomorrow, and I'm like, it's one of those times when you're like reflecting, and you're like, man, this much time has gone by, right? I'm 43, and I'm like, double the time I've been alive, and I'm going to be, what is that, 86 years old, and I'm like, dang, it's just one of those. You start reflecting on that stuff.
And your parents tell you that,
and you start focusing on like what's important. And
right. Well, you do, and as you get older, and your parents, enjoy it while you and we don't listen until you don't really understand it until you get older, and it really does fly. So, obviously, giving you a call, getting in to see you now. How long does it normally take for somebody to be able to get in to see you, Patrick? I mean, is it you have to schedule way in advance, or is it?
I mean, probably within like a week and a half, 2 weeks.
Oh,
we can probably get somebody on the calendar. It's pretty busy here at the beginning of the year.
I would imagine.
We stay pretty busy, but usually within like a week or two.
That's good.
We can schedule a time for somebody to come in. So
and it's usually $10,000.
It's more of somebody taking action. Yeah, usually it's 20, but for right
now, it's $10,000. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. It's free.
That's it. It's such a deal.
So no, and Patrick is one of these guys that has a heart of a servant, and it's one of the reasons I love what you do so much is that you're not coming from hey, what would it take to put you in this car today? It's got the Corinthian leather. It's really putting someone's needs first and not trying to sell them a product that they don't need.
Yes.
Which was kind of the MO and why a lot of people are turned off by this whole financial advisement to begin with.
Yeah, so most people try to do it themselves because of that.
Right.
And I applaud people for wanting to do stuff themselves because I feel like they could do it better or go to Vanguard or, manage their own 401ks and things like that. But there's so much stuff that it's just you don't know what you don't know and why you want to do a stress test and analysis. And when you're bringing up like the car salesman guy, I was shopping for a car recently and kind of going through this whole thing. Where, I found a car that I liked and I looked up, online, the recommended cars and all the stuff that I'm buying for my daughter for her birthday. And I'm like, okay, I found the car. I'm like, this looks great. And, the Carfax comes back and everything's all clean. I'm like, well, we're going to make this contingent on me getting it checked out by my mechanic. Took it to the mechanic, and the mechanic's like, yeah, you're going to need to pass on this one. There's like body damage, and there's been an accident, and
Wow.
there's sand in places there shouldn't have been.
Which you would not have known had you not taken that step to take it to your mechanic, to an expert.
To an expert.
And see,
Yes.
and this is a great analogy, Patrick. It's easy today. I mean, a long time ago, you needed a stockbroker to buy stocks and bonds, and it was only for the very wealthy, generally. Today, anybody can open up a Robinhood or Acorns account or even a Vanguard account, very little money, no fees, easy online, easy peasy to do that. But what about all those other things that you list all the time about retirement? It's one thing about putting money in the bank, but now what do we do with it?
Exactly.
And how do we plan to keep it out of the government's hands?
Exactly. So that's most people's plan is, Patrick, I've accumulated this big pile of money, and I'm just going to reach in and take money out whenever I need it. That's pretty much the plan.
That's the plan.
And there's so much more to it that people just don't know.
Yeah.
And like we were just talking about the car, finding out all this different stuff that was wrong with this car, but you wouldn't have known unless you took it in and you have somebody do an analysis and stress test and everything like that in the car. And so that's what we do. We try to help people figure that stuff out so that you know what's going on with your financial car and if it's going to be breaking down on you or not. Is it going to make it the distance?
And we're lulled to sleep by technology today. I think we are so spoiled. Like if I have to, the other day I stopped and I was kind of out in a remote area on the interstate where you're kind of in between major cities, and I was on fumes. I had to get out of and they didn't have credit card pay at the pump, and I had to go inside and pay for my gas, and I felt highly inconvenienced. I mean, I'm like, wow, we used to have to do this. Remember before you went to a restaurant, if it was a fast food restaurant, not that long ago, like 20 years ago, they didn't accept credit cards. You had to go to the ATM. You had to have cash in your wallet if you wanted to go. It's just amazing how lazy we've gotten. And this is one of those things that even though technology is a great help, you can build portfolios, you can do all that stuff. It does not. Robo-advisors is another thing, which but for somebody who's accumulated $500,000, $1 million, $5 million in assets, I'm sorry. I want somebody on my side that knows what they're talking about.
And there's just so much more to it than that people don't realize until they actually go through this process. And then it kind of opens their eyes like, oh man, there's all these other things that I need to really be paying attention to. And that's why, I designed this 5-star retirement plan, because we want to make sure we got a star in each one of these different areas. And we thought through all the things that we need to be thinking about. So you got your income plan, investment plan, taxes, healthcare, your legacy plan. And we got to think through all of those things and make sure we got a plan in all those different areas to make sure that you're always going to be okay. And so most people have been putting this stuff off because they're kind of fear of being sold something. We're not trying to sell anything here. We're trying to give you clarity. And if we can show you ways that we can bring value and put you into a better situation, then we'll do that if you want our help. But you need to understand where you're at and where you're headed. And the only thing that's stopping you is from you taking the action to do that. And so we want to make it easy, and we try to make it painless, and we try to make it fun. Like we do on the show, I try to keep it the same way when I'm in the office, and it's very genuine and just really trying to figure out what's going on and seeing how we might be able to help. But you got to take action. So give us a call, 770-545-8881, and schedule a time to come in for a visit, and we'll help you understand where you're currently at. Well, you'll understand what your financial car is looking like, and if there's a bunch of stuff that you need to be paying attention to make sure that you can make it if you're on a cross-country trip across the country, that you're actually going to make it to the other side of the country.
A 5-star retirement plan does not involve Bondo. Does not involve Bondo. You know what Bondo is?
I don't even know what Bondo is. I feel like I've heard of it.
That is the stuff that you buy at Pep Boys. It's a body filler.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You ever seen a car in primer? It's a,
yeah. There's all little patchy things all over it.
Yeah. Does not involve Bondo. Does not involve the help fix-it things from the counter at Pep Boys. That's not what we want. I'm trying to do car analogies here for you.
Yeah, I like it.
You're like, okay. All right. So I just want to make sure we were
Yeah.
All right, coming up in the final segment, we're going to talk about some ways that some of the experts in the markets are thinking about what the housing market's going to do this year and what your real estate part of your portfolio means for your overall retirement plan. We'll talk about that and more coming up next on 5-Star Retirement. We thank you for staying with us here at 5 Star Retirement, final segment of the show. And always, it goes way too fast, Patrick. There's so much to talk about and just going through where we are in our economy. And the news has been great. Obviously, for the past 12, 18, 24 months, we've seen, record growth in the stock market. We've seen, I remember when I went back and listened to some old recordings of mine from the early 90s when I first got into radio, and it was like, right now, the Dow is up 12 points at 1,262. And I'm like, this has been that long ago. And we're talking about Dow 29,000 and probably obviously 30,000 this year.
Mm-hmm.
NASDAQ up near 10. What is it, 9,200 or something right now? S&P at record levels. But there's a lot of volatility in the market too. And that's something that obviously we'll continue to follow throughout the year here on 5 Star Retirement. But as teased, I would talk about the housing market and obviously a real estate. We haven't talked a whole lot about what that plays in someone's overall retirement plan. But for a lot of folks, you've got that and the 401k or whatever investment money pile, and those are the two big assets. And especially now, we've seen home prices, especially here in the Metro Atlanta area, but really all over the country. At historic highs. Mm-hmm. We've still got interest rates for mortgages way down there.
Yeah, they came down a good bit this last year.
4% still. So cheap money out there to buy. What are you thinking about in this next year? At some point, I got to think that, are we just pricing people out of homes?
I'm seeing these homes that are going up, and it boggles my mind. It's like you have a neighborhood of homes that goes up, and it's like starting from the 800,000s,
right?
And these places are all filling up, and I'm like, man, where are these people coming from, or where is this money coming from, and are we kind of repeating the same stuff that we got into, before 2007, 2008, when people are just kind of getting into a home buying frenzy, right? So home values are going up, so people are buying homes and flipping it and sucking the equity out and interest-only loans and all that stuff, because I'm starting to see a lot of the same signs. And you said, like by my office, where like we buy houses and zero down mortgages and things like that. So you're starting to see these same things kind of repeating themselves. And so that just wakes me up that when everybody is excited about something is typically when you should not be excited about it and doing exactly the opposite.
Yeah, it's kind of like buying the stock at the very height of the stock because it's popular. That's not the time.
Just like the Bitcoin. Remember, like Bitcoin was
right.
like so bananas and all that stuff.
Yeah,
and if
you're chasing it there,
it's going to go to $1 million on the set. Yeah.
Well, it's funny you said that, talking about relaxed qualifications. Remember, I was actually selling real estate in 2004, 2005, 2006, leading up to the crash. I was a buyer's agent, and I typically work with first time buyers, which I loved. It was fun for a while, kind of in between radio careers. But literally, I would have clients come in and they were giving mortgages out to anybody with a pulse. You could have a 400 credit score, approved, no income verification, approved, and then you would go pull the tax records on these a year later and they're all foreclosed. And that was one of the bubbles. But one of the things on this opinion piece of Market Watch is talking about non-qualified mortgage. The market will evolve more quickly. So we're talking about, again, low or no doc mortgages where you don't have to show income verification. And so that really got tight after the bubble, and now it's starting to relax because we all forget everything here in America very, very quickly.
That's right. That's right. But just kind of like the news cycle, right? We've got the
yeah, right.
How quickly the news cycle changes.
There, apparently, the opinion piece, and again, this is from Market Watch, saying that home purchases will continue to increase in 2020. We had a 2.5% increase year over year in July of 2019, so that was from 18 to 19, and then November 18 to November 19, just a couple of months ago, 7.5% increase, and all-time record building permits and housing starts. So somebody is affording these from the 800,000. I'm just wondering how heavily leveraged are some people, and again, here in the Atlanta market, we're blessed because you can, 800,000 sounds like a lot, but if you live up in the Northeast or out on the West Coast, you sell a house there, you end up with a pile of money.
You go from a shack to a mansion.
Right. And probably pay cash for it, with what you got out of your previous property. But, for the regular person that might have a home or be nearing retirement, still has a mortgage, I guess that has to weigh into the, the overall advice that you give them too.
Yeah.
So,
Well, so some people, it's a lot of times, especially with interest rates being so low, if they've got a low interest rate, I mean, I'm okay with somebody retiring as long as we know we got the income coming in and the cash flow coming in when they retire, then we just build that into the plan and they can be okay. And then sometimes people they've got a mental block where it just gives them anxiety thinking that they're going to have this debt when they retire. And it's kind of a goal just to get that paid off when they retire and drop their expenses, which is fine. And sometimes that keeps people up at night. And so we don't want that. If it's causing that much anxiety, then we want to figure out how we're going to pay that off and make that work.
So, and that's another thing that an expert like Patrick can provide you with that guidance and say, hey, it's okay if that really helps you sleep well at night, then that's what we should do. It's not wrong to get your mortgage paid down, but essentially, if the money is cheap, and you want to preserve cash and cash flow, then it might be more advantageous to just keep.
That's right. Kind of like this year. I mean, do we want to pay the mortgage off? It's at 3 or 4%, right? Or are you going to have it in the market where it's up 20 or 30%?
Right. Exactly.
Not like that's going to happen every single year, but if we can get it earning more than that 3%, then why wouldn't we want to be doing that?
And it seems like a good time too. Talking about the housing market is that a lot of people will probably think about downsizing. And it might be a good time now. I kind of feel like, again, it's just a gut intuition, but, at some point this is going to pull back. And I remember I had homes that I was selling in 2004. I had one on the market for $400,000 and overnight it was now worth $2.
Wow.
And they still wanted $4 for it. But what do you do?
Yeah.
So, now might be the time if you're 5 years from retirement, to go ahead and take your gains out of that house and make that, especially if you're thinking about downsizing now.
Take your gains out of the house, downsize, kind of get that stuff out. I mean, especially when markets are high. I mean, my crystal ball is as good as everybody else's crystal ball,
right.
But it's just kind of like these things keep coming up. Like you were talking about earlier, you start seeing these signs that happened in the past that, right before the downturn, and then people look back and be like, well, why didn't we see that? You know what I mean?
Well, hindsight is 2020. Say, what did we just come up with? I don't know. Just my.
We're in 2020.
My silliness. But these are all things to think about. The other thing that this opinion piece was talking about, Patrick, was housing affordability improves. So interest rates, one of the primary drivers of home sales. And that the core housing lenders are coming off of banner years and record revenues, and apparently so that's increased their underwriting ability, and so we'll see more people get into houses as well. So it's some interesting. Oh, and one of the things too was the gig economy workers will drive a new wave of home buying. So this is for people that are looking maybe to sell a home. That's people that are working 2 or more jobs, and I say today that's a lot of people that are our age and younger are doing multiple things. And especially like our producers that are in their 20s, a lot of people have side hustles, and you both have side hustles, don't you? Yeah.
Well, I would say almost, I use like Uber and Lyft a lot.
Right.
And, I have conversations about how long they've been doing it. And not many people is it their full-time thing. It's kind of like, well, I've got my regular job and then I kind of do this, or kind of the other way around. Maybe somebody's doing that and trying to get a business up and running, or something to supplement their income. Well,
because today you can't, you don't go to work for Acme Inc. for 50 years and get your, there is no loyalty anymore. And you have to look out for yourself. And, and that we could spend a whole show talking about this, but wages have just not kept pace with, especially in the middle class. It is getting tougher and tougher for the middle class to live that lifestyle of the previous generation. And what's the wish for every parent is the previous, we want better for our kids. The problem is that's tougher to start accumulating these nest eggs and live and pay the higher gas prices and these housing prices.
Yeah. That's exactly right. And you have a lot of people who are getting, a lot of kids that are getting degrees, and they're all getting the same degrees. And so they're all getting out of school with exactly the same stuff.
You mean the useless degrees?
Or going after or going after the same type of jobs. And, it's just not what it used to be.
Well, I think we probably hit on some subjects that we could probably talk about in the next show. That could be talked about for just about an hour probably. And there's a lot of changes in the market out there. But the one thing that we can't predict, obviously, like you say, that our crystal ball is as good as anyone else's. But you can plan, and you can put a plan together, and that's where Bella Advisors, the 5-star retirement plan comes into such a play for you. If it's your financial resolution this year, even whether you're doing well financially or whether you want to do a little bit better, if you're in that 10-year or closer mark to retirement, this is the guy you need to see, Patrick Mueller at Bella Advisors, to help you put that 5-star plan together. How do folks get in touch with you?
Yeah, all you got to do is pick up the phone and give us a call, 770-545-8881. Again, that's 770-545-8881. And here we're at the beginning of 2020, and this is probably something you've been putting off a long time or not understanding what this process is going to be like. We make it super easy, super simple. You just got to schedule a time to come in, and we'll do the stress test and analysis for you so you'll understand where you're currently at, the path you're on, the stuff you're doing that's great and continue to keep doing it, and the stuff that you probably want to be paying attention to or fixing at this point. And we'll let you know what that is. If we can help you from that point forward, that's great. If we can't, we hope to at least lead you in the right direction. So just pick up the phone, give us a call, 770-545-8881, or just go online to our website at bellaadvisors.com.
Have you given away all of the Christmas turkeys?
We didn't give away all the turkeys.
So you still have some frozen turkeys to give away then?
Well, I just figured I would buy them right when somebody wanted the
I thought they were in your
turkey.
refrigerator.
I wasn't gonna stock.
Okay,
I
all
wasn't gonna stockpile the turkeys.
Well, I expect you next week to bring them in, and we're going to have a feast.
You're gonna have to. I'll bring in turkeys for everybody.
There you go. I like that. All right. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate you being there, for listening, for downloading. Make sure you like and share, and join us again next week for another edition of 5-Star Retirement.